Okay, good morning.
Morning.
We have everybody here. Okay, we'll go ahead and begin the Administrative Practices Committee, the first committee of 2021. Woo! Welcome, Director Beerwagon and Director Peters. It is 9 o'clock on January the 5th. We're having this meeting via Zoom, and we have a few members of the public in the audience, so that's good. So I'd like to open the meeting, and I'd like to open it up to public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Star 9 to raise your hand if you would like to make a comment on items that are not on the agenda today. All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and close public comment. And item number 1 is the approval of the minutes from our last APC meeting, which was December 1st, 2020. Do I have?
I have approval.
Approval?
I wasn't there, so I don't think I can. I have to abstain, I think.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think one member at the moment is enough to move that item, so thank you. And we'll close item number 1, and we'll open item number 2. And this is the discussion regarding proposal to provide support for the South Sutter Water District's hydroelectric operations and to provide direction as appropriate. Kian, I'm going to hand this over to you if you can jump in.
Sounds good. Thanks, Greg. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. I think I'd like to just go ahead and jump into the presentation first off here. Chris, can you pull that up for us?
And can I operate it from here?
All right, so we can go ahead and go to the next slide here. Before I jump into the actual structure of a potential deal here, I wanted to give everyone a little bit of background on the Camp Far West Dam and Powerhouse. So the powerhouse was originally built in 1981. It was a partnership between South Sutter Water District and SMUD, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. They began producing power in 1985. And since that time, SMUD has handled all of the operations and maintenance. At this point, the contract is nearing an end, and South Sutter Water District is investigating options to continue with the operations and maintenance. And as part of that, they reached out to me and asked if there were any lessons learned and anything that they should be doing as they move through this process. And that's kind of how this conversation got started. Next slide, Greg. Just to give everybody an idea of exactly where their facility is here, you can see a couple of our facilities and then the Camp Far West Powerhouse down on Camp Far West Reservoir. Just to give you a general idea of the vicinity that we're working in here and their proximity to our facilities. Next slide, Greg. The actual powerhouse is a 6.8 megawatt unit. It has one Francis turbine in it, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but most of our units are Francis units, so it's very similar technology to what we're operating and maintaining now. The dam is 181 feet tall, and it's a zoned earth-filled dam. Again, it's in line with much of what we're doing at this point. The outlet's a 4-foot diameter outlet, and it's controlled by a Halvanger valve, and again, that's typically what we're using on our facilities. Next slide, Greg. A little bit of background that as to how we got here today. On December 1st, we brought this item to the APC at that point, and the committee gave us direction to move forward, see if there is a potential option for us helping South Sutter with their operations and maintenance. Shortly after that meeting, staff went down and visited the actual powerhouse, took a look around, made sure that it was something that we wanted to get involved with. We found it to be well maintained, and as I mentioned, it's consistent with a lot of the equipment that we operate and maintain every day. With that, we put the item in front of the district's legal counsel. Legal doesn't see any problems with us operating and maintaining this facility, although they do caution that it does add more risk to the district. And so that is certainly something that we need to consider as we move forward. With that, we also passed it along to our insurance company for their review. The insurance company gave us a couple of caveats and things that they wanted to see included in any sort of potential deal. So we did include those in the term sheet. And then we developed the draft term sheet that was also attached to the staff report, and is what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Next slide, Greg. So as we went through the development of the term sheet, we identified several potential services that we could provide. And essentially that's operations. We can go down and do their daily, weekly, monthly inspections. We could possibly respond to an emergency call out for them. We could start the unit, we could shut it down. Just generally the daily logging sort of work. We also in the department have a pretty robust compliance team. Over the last couple of years, that's an area that has really taken off, and that's everything from the California Independent System Operator. It's Regis who controls the renewable energy credits, the California Energy Commission that determines whether or not we're renewable. We can also provide maintenance services. We talked about regular and routine maintenance or outage maintenance. We could help them with their dam safety program. We can provide inspections and reporting. And then there's of course the administrative side of everything. That's the project management. That's myself. So with that, we can go to the next slide. So the term sheet that we've developed and attached is based on what South Sutter said that they were interested in. It includes a fixed monthly fee, plus we're envisioning an hourly rate for services provided. Those rates aren't included in the term sheet that you have before you, the draft term sheet, because that's what we want to talk about today. We need some guidance out of the committee as to which direction we head with that, if this is still something that we're interested in. It allows South Sutter to have access to all of the job descriptions in the NID hydroelectric departments. So essentially, if we do it for our existing hydropower plants, they would have access to it for theirs. It does not include, so it excludes 24-hour monitoring and then real-time monitoring and CalISO scheduling. Those are services that we contract out at this point and have no interest in bringing them in-house at this point. It's entirely based around an as available basis. So if they call and we are able to respond, great. If they call and we're busy, then they're going to have to go somewhere else and figure out how to get their services. That was their preference for this. It's based on a 2-year term, but that term can be terminated with 60 days notice. And then we've added significant liability limitations for the district. So the liability in there now is limited to the lesser of the fixed monthly fee or the amount paid for the actual services. So if we go down for an hour's worth of work and something goes wrong, the way it's structured now, the limit of our liability is that dollar amount of that hour of labor. And then it includes the insurance and indemnity provisions required by our insurance provider. So with that brief introduction, I'd like to open it up to the committee and have a bit of a discussion here. As I mentioned, the goal here is to get guidance out of the committee on a couple of specific things and then a couple of just general things. First of all, coming back to the direction given by the APC last month, we wanted to just check in and make sure that this deal still sounds like something that we're interested in moving forward with. Then we'd like to get some guidance on some of the general provisions. Are we heading in the right direction? Is this the sort of deal that the committee would like to see? And then we're looking for some specific guidance on the costs associated. So with that introduction, I'll open it up to the committee for discussion, and we can go from there.
Okay, this is Director Beerwagen. I had 3 questions about, first off, you mentioned you have a bullet point, general provisions or whatever it is. Just for clarification, I was confused about, I didn't know that Camp Far West and South Sutter were combined. I guess my question is, Camp Far West have rights to water, but they don't manage the dam and the facility. Is that correct?
No, so South Sutter Water District owns, operates, and maintains the Camp Far West Reservoir.
Okay, so we'd be dealing exclusively with them.
Yes.
So I was assuming this was Camp Far West, not South Sutter. That was a clarification, so that's good. My next, so this is not unlike Rollins Power Plant, or very similar, correct?
It's similar technology. Rollins is a little bit larger. This kind of fits in the spot between our Bowman and Rollins powerhouses. So we have some that are bigger and some that are smaller, but the technology is generally the same.
Because the outside picture looks the same, right?
It does. Yeah.
Must have been the same. Okay. The other one I had then, and you touched on it just a little bit, excluded services. When I see in the first description of things we provide, everything we do, and then the excluded services, control room services, including 24-hour real-time monitoring of facilities. So how's that differentiate from what we would do daily? And you said we can contract those out. I understand the Cal ISO one, but I understand this one particularly.
Yeah, so currently we contract those services out of the Yuba Bear plants. PG&E watches our powerhouses 24/7. So they're the ones that watch the SCADA, make sure everything's working just fine. When something goes wrong, they'll call us out. On our Comby South powerhouse, the NCPA watches that one for us, so they can see it on their computer screen down the hill. And if something goes wrong, then they'll call us out. So it's essentially there's always a person watching these facilities.
Somewhere watching on a computer screen.
Yep. And we don't do that. We have somebody on call 24/7, and so they're always available, but we don't physically watch that computer screen all night.
So is this would this be something they currently do, already have contracted out?
They are working to contract that out at this time. So they understand that it's not something we're interested in. We've given them the folks that we work with and suggested that they contact them and see if they're interested.
Okay, thank you. That was good. I'm fully in favor of doing this. I see no other. I think the points have all been thoroughly examined, and I like the idea of working together, getting to know our neighbors, and the positives that are listed here of working with Bud and with South Sutter. I think are positive things.
I have a lot of questions.
Perfect.
Are you finished, Chris?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So I wasn't at the last meeting, and so I'm kind of starting from the beginning. So sorry, but I got a few questions. Well, I'm not sorry, but anyway. Regarding the 24-hour, so essentially our operators. So my first question is, when exactly would be these services needed? How much time are we thinking we would be putting to this work?
And so that's a little difficult to put parameters around right now. That's certainly something that we need to discuss with South Sutter moving forward, is how much they anticipate. And I'm probably going to struggle to answer some of your questions because we're very early on in this process. We're at the committee trying to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. And so there are some challenges here, but I think and exactly how much time we expect to spend is one of those questions that we need to figure out a whole lot better.
But don't you have you must have, knowing your staff availability and what you've got available, it seems like there would be some brackets that, wow, if it's this, then it's not reasonable, or if it's that, then yeah, we've got plenty of capacity. Well,
so since it's an on-call as needed sort of contract, we haven't worried about that a whole lot. The reality is if they wanted us to commit and say, you know what, we want somebody down here 5 days a week, 4 hours a day, that's something that we'd have to look at. But since it's an as needed or as available, sort of contract, if we do have the bandwidth, we'll use it, and if we don't, then we won't offer it. It's kind of got maximum flexibility for us.
Because my understanding of our operations is that we have operators on site 8 hours a day every operator, every plant has an operator every single day of the year that goes out there and checks on the plant. Is that correct? Is that a correct assumption?
Generally, it's our goal to get to every powerhouse every day. That doesn't necessarily happen in the winter months. It can be a real challenge to get out to Bowman every day. But our,
I mean, on average, do we go to, do we have our operators? So if our operators don't really operate the facility, they just are available in case something needs to be done, and then PG&E or NCPA calls them and says, oh, you got to go out there and do something. So I'm just trying to get my head around how much time it's going to take away from us doing our own business. That's what I'm trying to get at.
well, and so I don't necessarily see it as taking that time away from doing our own business. I think the analogy that I see here is it's almost a fire department sort of analogy. And so there are times when we're out at a powerhouse that we could be doing other things, I believe, right? So they'll go out there, they'll do their plant check, and they're available if changes need to be made, but they aren't necessarily, we're not maximizing their value to the district. And I like to think of, there are times when you drive by a fire department and the fire department, the fire people are out washing the truck out front. That's absolutely something that needs to happen, but they could be out fighting fires, and that's where they should be. And if we had the opportunity to use our people to go down and operate the South Sutter plant, they could go do that. And I could find somebody to come in and wash the truck, so to speak, for more cheaply. And so what I see is sometimes our operators will be at a powerhouse, they'll go in, they'll do their station check, they'll clean all of their screens, they'll get through the work that they need to be done, and then they'll go cut vegetation for the half an hour or hour that's left in their shift. What I could do is send them down to South Sutter, where they could go do the operations down there. And then I could bring in a contractor to cut the vegetation at a powerhouse at a lower cost. And so I see the district not only makes money by sending somebody down to South Sutter to help them out, but we also have the potential to decrease our costs by bringing somebody in that's less expensive to do stuff like cut vegetation.
Kean, I want to jump in and just add a little bit to that. Is that, another analogy here is that, well, not an analogy, but we still have yet to do our full due diligence on this package. We have not really asked South Sutter or got a full analysis of how much SMUD had been working with them over the past year, 2 years. It's similar to going to a new insurance carrier and they look at your run loss from the previous 5 years. How many losses have you had? So they can gauge the future, what their use is going to be. And like Kean says, we're pretty early in this process. We haven't really dug extremely deep onto this due diligence, and I'm anticipating this is one of the areas where we would see a history of how often had SMUD been there over the last year, and is there a cycle? Is there a pattern to it? But at the end of the day, this plan that we're working out with South Sutter is an as-needed basis. If we are not available, we cannot go. And they have to find another path to do what they need to do.
So that tells me it doesn't seem like we're very well suited to do this work then, because our priorities are first. And the first thing I would have asked, I mean, if they approached us and said, are you interested in doing this for us? First thing I would have said was, how much time are you talking about? What are your expectations? Have they provided us what their expectations are in your several phone calls with them over the last month?
And so we're in an odd spot here, right? We have a kind of a chicken and an egg sort of problem. We need to keep checking in with the committee to make sure we're heading in the right direction and make sure that the structure of this looks correct and it seems reasonable. But we can't have all the answers every time we come in. So what we're trying to do is make sure we're heading in the right direction and head and continue in that direction. But not get too far away from where the committee wants to head. And so I think that's the goal of today. So clearly we need to put better sideboards around this, and there's clearly a whole bunch more contract language that needs to be put together, and we need to work with South Sutter, but we're trying to bring the committee along with us on this process. And so that's why we're not going to have all of the answers today.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, we received the thumbs up last month. We've had some action between then and now. Now we've got new committee. We're bringing this education to you today to make sure that we staff are going in the direction of the committee's wishes. And we had the wishes last month. Now we're bringing a little more information today, which we didn't have last month, if Director Beerwagen can attest to that. And Kian's right. This is an evolving process, and the full board, just so you know, is going to be the one that's going to make this final decision. This is not coming to this committee as the final decision. This will be a full board action when and if it's ready.
Okay. Well, it seems like to me, and to my first, and maybe I know I think different than a lot of people, but my first question was how much commitment are you talking about? What tell us what your expectations are, and we'll see if we can meet them. But sounds like that didn't happen. So okay, that's fine.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of the way this deal is set up now, right? So if they can't tell us, it's an as needed or as available. So if we're available, we'll give it, and if not, then we won't. And if it doesn't meet their expectations and it doesn't meet their needs, that's their problem. They're the ones that have to keep their plant online. We'll keep our plants online. If we have some bandwidth and we can make it work, perfect, fantastic for us, good for them. If it doesn't work out, then we've still met our end of this agreement. So I feel good about that.
That's fine. I know that they have a job description on their website, and when I attended their meeting in November, they Northern California Power Association presented a presentation of their services to market the power, and there was a retired operator, hydroelectric operator, that was there and said he was interested in the work and that he had applied. I said, "Oh, you applied?" And he said, "Yeah." But they anyway, they do have a job description on their website, and it says, maintain the dam, keep the turbines going, so it sounds similar, but maybe it's a little different. I don't know.
Well, and it is very similar. And I think that's, in a perfect world, they'll hire a body that can come in and do a lot of those things. And they may only use us when that person's on vacation. They may only give us a call when something breaks. It's been my experience in the hydro industry that no one person can have all of the breadth that they need to do this. So they may just call us and say, "Hey, we need you to come in and do a 6-month battery check for us." And so it may be a little bit that person that they hire, the retired person, may realize that they enjoy retirement and want to go on a month-long fishing trip, and they'll need us to cover for that month. And so I think it's definitely an evolving situation, but you are correct that that they are looking to hire somebody to fill a lot of their operational needs down there.
Well, that's the business model that they're deciding to go forward with, and that's great. That's a great way if it works for them. We're talking specifically about this scope of work for us. Can we do it? We will help on an as-needed basis. And Kian's right. That position is available. How it dovetails with our activities, South Sutter will be the determinant for that.
Okay. All right. And then my next question is about this legal concerns. They say, but points at no contact and protect us. When you spoke with legal, what kind of risk? What was the risks that they said was the biggest risks that they felt that this posed to the district?
Yeah, and so this is one of those things that you can sue anybody for anything, and so no matter how ironclad our contract is, we still may have to defend it, and there still may be some legal costs associated with defending it. If something happens with that dam, it's possible that somebody could say, "Well, NID's been down there; they've worked on that dam. We should go after NID," and we may have an ironclad contract with South Sutter that in the end will ultimately prevail and will come out without any real consequences, but we've paid lawyer fees to defend ourselves in that sort of event. And so it's one of those that you can just never eliminate all of the risk.
Okay. But they didn't identify any specific risks. It's just if something happens in that powerhouse after we were there or something happened and it looks like we're going to be doing the dam as well. It's not only hydroelectric, I mean, it's dam safety. It's everything to do with their facility. Is that correct?
There's the potential that they could use our staff for everything to do with that facility. Ultimately, they're responsible for that facility and meeting the requirements. We're not taking any of their responsibility for doing any sort of reporting or actual maintenance on it. But we could touch, the way the deal is structured now, any part of the facility down there, dam or powerhouse.
Okay. Okay. And then on the insurance, you mentioned that there's caveats. They added caveats. What caveats did they add to our policy, and how much will it cost?
And so those are the 2 bullet points that I mentioned there. Pulling up the staff report now, they said specifically that they want no additional staff be added to complete the work and involve the broker in crafting the insurance provisions of the agreement. He gave us that draft language that was included in the term sheet there. And so those are the 2 caveats. They say that as long as we do those 2 things, then there's no additional cost for insurance to the district.
Okay, and they must say, the second one was they must be involved in
the review of the contract, the contract negotiations, the insurance provisions of the final contract.
Okay. Okay. And do we get renewable credits to operate this facility? I mean, do we get credit? Do we get anything from, we get these renewable credits or something for operating plants, but do we get anything out of?
No. As currently envisioned, South Sutter will sell the power, all the renewable credits, all of that sort of the products, all of the products from the powerhouse will just simply be paid for our hourly work down there.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay. Let me look at my notes again. And so all of the labor will come out of the Gold Hill. Is it Gold Hill? Is that where you're off at? What's the hydro plant?
No, we're on Secret Town.
Yeah. Secret Town.
Yes.
Is all of the staff, all of the maintenance equipment, all of the people, everybody is coming from Secret Town. Is that correct?
Well, so that's where we're headquartered, where the hydro department is headquartered. My vision would be that if South Sutter needs our services, an operator would say, leave the yard here in the morning. They would hit something, probably the Combi plants, our Combi North and Combi South powerhouses, do their station check there, and then continue on to South Sutter. So it would just be part of their route as opposed to dispatching them individually to a location.
Would it create overtime?
It's
do that?
It's possible it would create overtime. If it is overtime, then South Sutter would need to pick up that cost.
Because it's like an hour and a half from Secret Town to Camp Far West, and then it's like almost an hour from Combi to Camp Far West, and so just travel time alone, it's 4 hours of travel time, and if you spend an hour, and usually it's a 4-hour call out if you're doing call outs typically. How long do they typically spend at a facility? How long does an operator, when they go, like if they go to Combi, so they go to leave Secret Town, they go to Combi, how long would they typically spend at Combi?
For a typical station check, say nothing's wrong, they're just going to go in and they're going to take their reads, they're going to clean strainers and do the routine sort of work. It can be probably between 1 and 2 hours.
Okay, so let's say 2 hours. So 4 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours. And so then you'd get down there and you'd have maybe 1 or 2 hours to do work there. Is that how you envision it?
Yeah, that'd be a typical station check. It's not quite as far. It's only about an hour from headquarters to the facility there, and it's 45 minutes ish from Combi. So the drive times aren't quite as high as you're thinking.
Oh, well, I just did Google Maps from Secret Town to South Sutter. I mean, or to Camp. So that's what Google said. Google said an hour and 25 minutes. But
yeah, it doesn't take quite that long. So
well, hopefully we're not speeding.
Nope, we all have the GPS trackers. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so let me see. Because our 2021 hydro salary and benefits is $6.2 million a year. And I know that Camp South Sutter they work on a shoestring. I can't envision how they could pick up even a fraction of the 6.2 million we spend on labor. And if we're going to make our entire department available to them, I'm thinking about the term sheet of how much we would charge them, and we would have to charge them something that makes it beneficial to the district and the taxpayers and ratepayers, rather than just, it helps keep our guys busy. And that kind of makes me think if it's to keep our guys busy,
No,
maybe we have staffing issues, so that's my concern.
no, this is absolutely an opportunity to seek additional revenue for the district is what we're looking at here. And it could be it could be tens of thousands of dollars. It could be $5,000, depending on how the contract moves forward. And I think that gets me to some of the things that we need to talk about in terms of, actual provisions of the term sheet. So as I mentioned before, it's currently contemplated as there's a monthly fee. Think of it almost as a retainer for a law firm. And we need some guidance on what that monthly fee looks like. And then there's an hourly rate that in there, and we need some guidance on that. The hourly rate, obviously needs to be greater than all of the salary. It needs to include all of the benefits. It needs to include all of the overhead and markup that's associated with a position. And then there's some component that needs to go on top of that is a contribution to the reserves. It's not so much a profit as a nonprofit agency, but there's a little bit of extra, and that's kind of what we're trying to get a hold on today. Is where is the committee on that concept? Is it how much do we want to charge that makes this worth our time?
So yeah, maybe I can jump in for a second.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of the meat of this conversation, and something that staff, Kean and I have been bouncing back and forth with lately. This is a new activity of the district to provide services such as this to some other sister agency. However, it's not unique in the utility world, as our legal has mentioned and as insurance suggests. So this isn't a unique opportunity. It's unique to us because we haven't done it before. We do know the price and the cost of every staff member with all of the bills. And one moment. Yes, sir. He froze.
I'm coming in.
Okay, we have Director Beerwagen has kicked offline, so let's just take one moment while he gets reconnected. So close to mastering this technology. But it doesn't ever seem to be flawless. So those of you on the public, thanks for holding. Okay. Okay, we're going to take a short break for 5 minutes. Apologize to everybody, but we have a little technical difficulty here. We're going to take a 5-minute break. I have 9:34. We'll be back at 9:39. Thank you.
So we had backups. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, John. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, well, that took 6 minutes. Apologize. I think we're back. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll pick back up. I'll just finish my thought there. Really what we're asking, part of what we're asking for is this cost structure. And we want to make sure that we're being as effective with our staff dollars as we possibly can. We have no intention to dip into any type of reserve. So we do know the total cost of an hourly basis. We have equipment that we may.
I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
We can hear you. And we'll be there in 2 seconds. She's coming in.
Hear me now.
We can hear you.
I can't hear you
This right
guys.
here.
Oh,
There you
see
go.
those stupid buttons.
I know, it's those little buttons. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, I'm back.
All right, sounds good.
John.
So it's the hourly rate plus a fee on top of that. And then there's an equipment cost where we may have to take some of our equipment to be utilized, whether it's test equipment, fabrication equipment, et cetera, and have an additional fee on top of that. That's going to be worked out, the end is going to be worked out through the negotiations. But this is a consideration we want to let you know that we are addressing and ensuring that the district does not utilize any of its hydroelectric reserves for any of these costs that we may incur.
Can I continue with my questions?
Please.
Okay. So it sounds like you already knew about this dam tender job description that they've been advertising for, trying to find someone with, and so it sounds like the actual operations and maintenance, as Greg was just mentioning, the equipment and all of that is going to be a pretty minimal part of this contract. It sounds like the bulk of the heavy work, most of the work, will be in the dam safety tasks. FERC DSOD regulations, including their taking care of their dam safety program, dam safety surveillance monitoring program and reporting, their emergency action plans, et cetera. And then also review of all their consultant drawings, technical specs, or any other submittals that come into the district. So they're going to be using our engineering support. And then also they're going to be using our project management support to oversee any consultant or any contracts that they have. So from what I'm gathering, and please correct me if I'm off base here, is that in the term sheet that you distributed, the dam safety task and administration tasks will likely eclipse the actual daily checking on the powerhouse and doing the routine maintenance. Am I off base there?
Yeah, I think you're not headed in the right direction there. So specifically, they've asked us for help with operations and maintenance. Actually, the dam safety and admin stuff was more of an afterthought. They are specifically, the majority of the work that they were looking for was in the operations and maintenance side of the house.
So maybe we don't need to include these dam safety and administration tasks.
We certainly don't have to, and if that's the direction we want to head, then that's fine. I think it's an opportunity to leverage the same benefits that we would on the O&M side with our entire department. But if the committee doesn't want to head that direction, that's certainly something we can consider.
It takes just as long to manage a consultant contractor staff contract for a small contract as a large. It's still all the same work, and the same with the emergency planning and all of that. It's all the same amount of work essentially to do that work. And so I'm just worried about if my personal preference is that if we have excess capacity in our hydroelectric department, I would prefer to see them helping out with our water department and working internally and water's working on hydro should work on water. So that's kind of my initial take on it, is that I would rather our ratepayers and taxpayers are paying to take care of our facilities in our district. And it seems to me a little far afield to be taking this on when our water department, we have a lot of opportunity to perfect and work on our own facilities.
Yeah, and I think that there's this isn't an excess capacity issue. This is a maximization of resources sort of issue here is kind of the way that I see it. So this is an opportunity to, if there is an opportunity to bring a company, a contractor in to do some of the work that we do at a lower cost than us, then I see the potential to increase revenue and cut costs at the same time is what I see this as. So it's not an excess capacity issue. It's an issue of maximizing the resources that we have available cost-wise for the district.
And I would rather, personally, I would rather the benefit come to the district than to maximize our resources in district than out of district. I mean, I would rather maximize internally, but that's okay. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so what do you want to talk about now?
So I have another question or two questions on the same, following up. Have you had discussion with them about the idea of cost, I'll call it time and materials. That's kind of how this works, right?
Right.
The construction industry, time and materials. That discussion and the one about specifically about we take care of our own first. We can't show up today. Have you had those two discussions, or is that in the proposal? Have they heard that yet?
So yeah, we've discussed the time and materials concept, and you're exactly on it. That's what this is here. Right. They understand that. They're obviously curious what the rate's going to look like, and that's a policy decision, which is why we're here talking to the committee, is to figure out what that looks like.
Right. Go ahead.
And then the second question regarding as available sort of contract, yeah, they're aware of that. They're we've made it overwhelmingly clear to them that our facilities with our people come first.
Because I think those are two key. Starting out, and certainly we can do a trial run, and we're creating the basis here. This is a whole new thing, including the fees and the hourly rates and the equipment. When I looked at that, I go, well, where do you start? How's the board supposed to know where to start with that, right? Who gets to put down the first dollar value, and how do we figure that out? And I think that's part of when you're doing something new, and what makes it exciting is the challenge of coming up with those things. And certainly we can find we can create our own hourly rate for a man. We know what we're paying a man every day to come to work, so we can figure that one out. But I think that's to me, when I looked at that, I go, okay, I don't know how to start that conversation here today, except somebody has to throw out the first number, and then
really, Chris, that art honestly is in the insulation of our hydroelectric reserves, as we identify exactly how much we need to make, right? Like what is the risk versus the benefit to the district?
Right. And I'm not afraid of any of these risks. That does not. And I love the analogy of a fire department. I was a fire department for 20 years. We oftentimes, all over the state, we have mutual aid, what's called mutual aid, and the fire departments all go all over the state all the time. And it doesn't leave, then in that scenario, they cover their bases before they leave, so to speak. And you're absolutely right, I think, on the concept of we're maximizing technical things here that we may not want to spend on cutting brush, for instance. And if we can benefit from maximizing those, then I'm all in favor of it. But I think it'll require some more fleshing out and maybe even a trial run. I'm in favor of moving forward in the process and thoroughly enjoy this conversation today about it.
Do you have a concept on, what, and again, we're getting to throwing out the number first, right? What a monthly fee would look like? Is it a bare minimum that simply our goal is to recover any administrative time that goes into it? There's invoice preparation and all that sort of stuff, and that's probably on the order of a couple $100 a month as a bare minimum. And you can obviously go up from there. Do you have any sort of feel, or are we, if we continue down this path, is there a profit goal that profit's the wrong word, but a revenue goal that you would like us to seek? Or is it, hey, you know what, we're a good neighbor, we're getting some benefit out of this because we're maximizing our resources. We get the opportunity to see how SMUD does their business and learn from them.
Yes.
Are those benefits enough, or is there a dollar amount that we'd like to seek?
Well, if I can answer that, I compare this to, I like the idea, the notion of somewhat more than cost, okay, and putting that in reserves. I liken it to capacity fees that we charge for water line extensions. That's a huge dollar amount that people pay to buy into a system, and that recognizing this service, everything that they need is already in place and just has to be a phone call. But attach a number to it, that's going to have to be your job, man.
Okay.
and then run it up the flagpole and see if they say that's too much, then we know, or we're in the ballpark. But something slightly above cost recovery, so that there is a benefit to doing this for us.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Director Peters, it looked like you were trying to talk there.
I have a couple concerns. You mentioned that we would benefit because SMUD used to operate this, but SMUD's not going to operate anymore. It doesn't fit in their business plan anymore. They're only 30 minutes away, and it doesn't make any sense for them to go.
Quick correction there. They dispatch their labor and operators out of their Fresh Pond office, which is outside of Placerville. And so it's their hydroelectric department. One of the reasons they can't pull this off is they have a 3+ hour drive time to get to and from. So
Because we're talking about hydro, not electricity distribution.
correct. They're dispatching their hydro crews to deal with this facility.
I'm concerned that if our hydro crews and our hydro staff is doing this right now, water does all of hydro overhead, pays for all of hydro's overhead. And water, it works. We've got water operators doing the South Yuba right now. We've got water operators waiting. So I think water does a lot of work for hydro, it seems like, from what I'm hearing.
Director Peters, that's a correction. Water does not pay for hydro overhead. Just to clarify.
Hydro pays for hydro overhead.
Hydro pays for hydro's overhead.
The HR and the IT and the all of that, I don't think so. All that comes from water.
Yeah, no, we went over this in the last committee meeting, I believe. It was the matter of hydro contributes funding to the water department, to the water fund, and we can cover that in the future. But your point's taken. I mean, there is overhead for sure.
Yes. And so I worry, and I completely agree with Chris. I'm okay. The first question I would have asked is what time commitment are you talking about? I don't know why we haven't asked that yet, and we're down this far down the road. But I would talk to them about what time commitment we're talking about. What are they actually saying? Do they really want us to write all their programs and oversee all of their regulatory stuff? Do they really want us to administer their contracts? I mean, what exactly do they really want from us? I mean, that would have been the first question I would have asked them. So it's hard for me to start putting dollars to anything when I don't even know yet if it's makes sense. Does that make sense? I don't mean to be a stick in the mud here, but it just seems like we're kind of ahead of ourselves.
Well, yes and no, right? So I mean, and that's the problem with a negotiation here as we work our way through this, right? We're trying to keep the committee involved every step along the way to figure out what the process looks like. And so as we do that, we can't bring all of the answers at every time. And I think South Sutter's also trying to figure out what this looks like, right? This is something new to them. This is something that they've never done before. There really isn't a model out there for this.
Right.
We're kind of
You said a lot of
breaking.
utilities do it. You said it's not uncommon to do it. A lot of utilities do it. So there must be a model out there.
We're aware of one other utility that does
Yeah,
it. I certainly didn't say a lot of utilities.
Yeah, a lot was word.
And so they're trying to figure out what this looks like. They're not sure if they can hire this dam tender operator powerhouse person that they're looking for. They're not sure if they can get the commitment that they need out of that person. Like I said previously, I'm not aware of any single person that can handle everything inside of a powerhouse. So they may end up hiring an operator that has no machinist sort of background, and he may need machinist services down there. They may hire somebody that's got a good, strong tech background, or not. So they're still trying to figure out what this looks like. And so as we bring things to the committee, we're not going to have the answers every single time, and they don't have the answers at this point either.
Okay, and so we've had several. It says we've had several phone calls with them, and we've had a site visit. So can you share with me, what did you guys talk about on those phone calls and that site visit? Then what were the conversations? What was the gist of it?
So the first phone call was simply just them reaching out and saying, hey, look, this contract with SMUD is coming to an end. We don't know where to go. So we sat down. Brad came up. We wrote some stuff on the whiteboard about all the potential services that we think that they need, or I think that they need in order to pull this thing off. You know, he looked at that, went back, and then we talked a couple more times about what we could provide, what we couldn't provide, and how that looks. During the site visit, one of my main goals of the site visit was to have a look around and make sure that the powerhouse was in good enough condition that we even wanted to walk into it, right? I certainly wouldn't be interested in going into a powerhouse that hadn't been maintained and trying to just deal with all the problems that they have down there. And that's where the concept of when we originally talked about what this could look like, they were thinking that they wanted someone to handle all of the operations. They wanted in the first conversations, they wanted a person to come to the powerhouse once a week, do a complete plant check, do an inspection, and then leave. That's kind of morphed since that time. Then they came up with this job description that they're flying of and I can't remember the title, the position down there.
Yeah, it's one on the website. It says dam tender, but on the job description it says water tender.
Okay, so then they came up with this job description, flew that. It's my understanding that they even interviewed. They had 2 or 3 applicants for it, and so now we've kind of morphed into this concept where they're more interested in us backstopping that person, and less interested in having us come down once a week or twice a week. We never hammered that out exactly what that would look like. And so that's what the conversations have kind of been about.
And I'm all for backstopping that person. That I'm agree with Chris. You know, we do need to work with her. I'm 100% okay with that. It just worries me about these dam safety tasks and these administrative tasks. I mean, I don't know that we have the capacity to oversee their dam safety program and all of their contracting.
So maybe if I can, unless Director Peters, do you have any more particular specific questions, I might offer a quick segue here to kind of keep moving along. But I certainly don't want to cut off the conversation if there's, but some of the high level thoughts that I've written down here are, number one, there's a cost to the district on this. And I've heard Director Beerwagen say, you know, make sure there's cost recovery plus. And that's up to staff and us to recognize what that is, what's going to make the district whole so that we're not holding the bag if there's an overtime cost or if there's something like that, that we're, somebody goes down there on a Saturday evening at midnight and we're covering those costs. Those costs are going to be taken care of, and we need to figure that out. And that's not necessarily, you don't have all the information at the moment in order to help us define that. So that's one thing. But those costs include, some of the sideboards on that is ensuring that we have all those costs covered, and that ensuring that we're not going to be dipping into our reserves on the labor side. There's also a cost component to equipment use. We have a whole series of equipment. Sometimes we capitalize, we purchase really high-level equipment to do the work that we do at our facilities. If we have to take that equipment down and utilize it, we're runtime, we're hours on it, it's essentially a rental fee for us to utilize the equipment that we have in order to do it on that facility. So there's part of those two ways of costs. And then that we need to evaluate and bring back to the committee or the full board, depending on where we are in the discussion. And Director Peters, your concerns seem to be reflecting around sort of the services that we provide, the administrative and dam safety components versus operations and maintenance of their facility. And so we'll dig into that a little more, and we'll kind of identify that, as well as how much time, what is our estimated time for requirement here? Are we talking, we need to understand that a little more. You would like to understand that a little bit better. If I kind of summarize that in this discussion, would that help to direct? I mean, I'm hearing Director Beerwagen saying, yeah, keep talking. This is all non-committal. We're in the conversation process with South Sutter. I'm hearing Director Peters there's hesitation, but there's some interest in ensuring that we're helping our sister agency down the hill here a little bit, because they're in need of something, and we have some skill and some opportunity to help with some potential revenue receipt and help reduce some of our costs in other areas.
Yeah, because one of the main, what if there was some catastrophic event and our operations and maintenance, they needed us to go down there, and we had the same issues. We'd say on a Saturday night at midnight, oh, sorry, we're not going to come. And then they're in a lurch. And so, or they have to have backup contracts, or I just don't understand it. That's my concern. I just don't really understand it. So I'm all for backup, but not solely operating. I just don't think it pencils out to solely operate.
Okay, I think that's fair, and that's the guidance that we're looking for here today, and why we brought this item to the committee. So,
yeah, I'm all for helping them out, but I'm worried about the commitment, and I don't know what it is. If I knew what it was, then I could have a more informed idea.
Yeah, and that's perfect, and we all feel that way, I think. So, but we need to keep checking in, make sure the committee's up to speed, and make sure that that we're all comfortable with the way we're moving forward with this. So I'm hearing that we should continue forward. Greg gave his points. And so I think go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have one more quick question. When have they told you they need a decision by? When's their drop dead date? They got to have an operator on duty.
That was my question also.
Yeah, so they hope to have this deal done middle of the second quarter of this year. So they're certainly by June of this year that they're hoping to have everything put together for this.
And do you think that's a doable time frame for us to come up with something?
I do. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. I expect it. I don't expect a long drawn out negotiation on this either. It's we're gonna set our parameters, and it's gonna work for us, and they're gonna accept it, or it's not gonna work for us, and we'll walk away. So there's. Okay.
Have you thought about a minimum call out time? Like if they call us, we're going to automatically charge a day's time at the top at range 5. I think that if we were going to do it, we'd have to charge top range, because if there's people in lower ranges, we've got those people till they die with their retirement and everything, and we're going to have to cover them after we've done this short term, thing for 2 years. And so
yeah, absolutely. Certainly on the top step of the top range that would respond would be what the hourly rate is based on. And in terms of call out, yeah, they would. It's my my position at this point that they would have to live with whatever we have to live with, right? Right now, we have a 2-hour minimum on a call out. So if we call out an operator, he or she is going to make 2 hours pay no matter what happens. Absolutely, they would have to live by those same rules.
Okay.
Good.
I think
Uh-oh.
Director Peters just locked up.
Yep.
Peter froze. See if it'll come in a second. Just one sec, folks.
Yeah.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
Yep. You putting her on another device? Okay, just one second. She should be up in about 30 seconds.
We're back.
Okay, you're back.
That was weird.
Fantastic. Yep, fantastic.
You froze, and I'm going, I could hear myself talking, but I couldn't see you. Just like what happened.
Glad it wasn't
Okay.
me this time.
Yeah.
It's always me.
Anyway, so what I was saying is we just need to make sure we're whole. I mean, and that's all I'm concerned about. Because it's a long way from Secrettown to Camp Far West.
Whole
Absolutely.
plus some is what I'm hearing from the committee. So
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that discussion. There are a couple hands that are raised. We'll, if you're okay, directors, we can open this up to the public comment at this point.
Yes.
Okay, we got John Norton. John, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the primary purpose of NID's hydroelectric department is to help pay for the cost of water. And I think this proposal does that. So that would help in some small way, probably in the overall sense of the hydroelectric department. It's pretty small potatoes here, but it will help us pay for the cost of water. Is that correct?
yes, I believe so. The deal would be structured in a way that it benefits the district financially, and so yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that,
in general. Go ahead,
So-
John.
on decisions with the hydroelectric department, I mean, my number one consideration is, does it help pay for the cost of water? And with the rate increases we have facing us this year, that's a very important issue to keep in mind. So thank you.
Thank you, John.
John?
Any other hands raised? Michael Hillwell, you had your hand raised. Yeah, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Very interesting conversation, but one thing that comes to mind is, where's Marvin? Marvin's going to have hopefully an active role in any decision-making, especially concerning developing rental rates and weighted labor rates and the like, as well as there may be restrictions concerning the ability of the district to kind of make money on the deal. When I was in the public works business, we could provide services to the two cities, for example, but we could only recover the actual cost of the service we provided. We weren't able to make contributions to our equipment replacement reserve, for example. So I think Marvin's going to have an important role in this discussion, and I look forward to seeing how it all shakes out. Thank you.
Michael, this is Director Beerwagen. If I could ask what was the prohibition against recovering? Was it statutory or was it just contractual?
It was statutory.
By whom?
Well, by state of California. Now, that may be that it was due to the fact that it was gasoline tax money we were spending and reimbursing. So
Yeah, and that's,
water districts may operate under different rules and regulations from the state controller. So I'm just saying that you'll need to talk to Marvin and have him do that research.
yeah, and that's absolutely our intention. And Marvin has been involved in these discussions and as we've talked about what a potential rate looks like and how we structure this and how all this works. So yeah, it's just Greg and I that are presenting it today, but Marvin has been involved in this and will certainly be involved in the final product as we continue forward.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate those comments. That helps. More people thinking about it really helps it out.
Okay, any other comments from the public? Okay, so I think, Kian, we've got our direction here, and
so what's next?
Well,
What's the next step?
Well, we'll be identifying this cost recovery action. We'll be discussing with South Sutter. We'll be moving forward with our term sheet with them and discussing the parameters that have been laid out today here. And as soon as we have more movement enough to bring back to the committee for an update, we will do so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yes,
Ken.
thank you guys. All right, bye now.
Okay, thanks, Kian. Okay, so we'll close item number 2. And we'll open item number 3, which is the District Policy 7050, the COVID-19 Prevention Plan. So this is an establishment of a new proposed district policy 7050. We're calling the COVID-19 Prevention Plan. We'd like the recommendation is to advance this to the Board of Directors as appropriate. So since March 2020, since the COVID outbreak pandemic, NID has been working actively internally with all staff to create a safe and healthy workplace. We've been providing memoranda and communication to staff through direct communication from my desk, from our internal newsletter, through conversations and communications. We have memorialized all of this activity into a pandemic response, a COVID-19 prevention plan we're calling the CPP, and it is filled with all of our information that employees would need in order to avoid exposure to the potential of contracting the virus while in the workplace. It gives direction and process on how to best manage and facilitate your own private office space disinfection, and what we anticipate and what we expect of our staff when providing meetings, in meeting space, in common areas, in vehicles, etc. And so this is we've got a draft resolution and we've got a draft policy. It would live. The idea is the COVID-19 prevention plan lives within the district's overall safety of workplace practices, our injury and illness prevention program, our IIPP. So it's embedded within there. And as you saw, if you had a chance to review the section 700 or 7000 in the policies, that's where the IIPP is. So this lives within it, and it kind of lives within the other elements of there's everything from fall protection, confined space practices. So we have a number of different policies that are related. This is a Cal OSHA requirement that we deliver a plan such as this, and we're bringing it to the board to create a formalized policy. Like I said, over the past 9 months or so, 8 months, we've had district practice that has come from my desk and human resources in order to ensure that our workspace has been prevented the spread of the COVID virus within our workspace. And that's what this is, and I will open it up to questions.
For background, for Laura, I believe, Greg, correct me if I'm mistaken, that this came out of APC to formalize what the district is doing in a formal manner. That's where creating a policy. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that this is a OSHA requirement. So we're bringing it forth combined. Yeah, it's the time.
Requirement to have a plan or to have a policy? I guess.
The plan, and then the policy came from the APC.
Yeah, so that we're formalizing it so that.
Correct.
We're recognizing the serious.
Correct. That's correct.
I reviewed the whole thing. I see no need to get into the weeds of this. I think it's well prepared.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Director Bierwagen, or Peters.
Yeah, so this is good. So the policy is not, we already have COVID-20 now, right? And so does it make sense to call it a COVID-19 plan, or just a pandemic plan, or a pandemic response plan, or, is the name, is it going to be old news as our COVID-19 as we're now already in 2020?
That's a really good point, because I thought, well, when COVID-19 goes away, then do we take it out of the policy?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point to generalize it a coronavirus plan rather than COVID, or
Something broader.
Something broader. I think that's a good idea, Laura.
Yes.
That is a good question, and I also have Jana on the line who helped draft this. So Jana, if you're there, is there a process by which this plan needs to be specifically defined as a COVID-19 plan? I mean, I think Laura's point is well taken.
Well, the original strain and pandemic is due to the COVID-19 strain. The fact that we're in 2020, I don't think is relevant unless there is a completely new strain that Cal OSHA identifies as COVID-20. So certainly there's nothing wrong, I think, with being generic about it, but the pandemic response and the protection plan is specifically for COVID-19. The plan was taken straight from the Cal OSHA model plan, and they include the word COVID-19. So maybe it's just a district preference to keep it out. Everyone knows what COVID means, but the particular strain that caused the pandemic is still referred to as COVID-19.
I've been hearing scuttlebutt in the news that there's a new strain, and so that's what made me think about it.
Yeah,
we're complying here with Cal OSHA, so that's
Okay.
so far the guidance that we have from them. But understand, to always tacking that number on it seems strange.
Well, but
At this point, since we're in 2020 and possibly, we've heard of, but there's no, there's nothing that Cal OSHA is directing us. Now you must have a plan for COVID-20. It's COVID-19.
And Cal OSHA doesn't require us to have a policy. They just require us to have a plan, right? So we could have our policy be a generic policy, and then we'd update the plan based on whatever.
Right, exactly. That's exactly by design, and how the board policy manual in the safety section is designed. We have the overarching, there's a, heat illness prevention program, there's a fall protection program, and then, these plans are this, these living documents that are, owned collectively by administration, safety, and used in training, communication, et cetera. And obviously, safety standards, viruses, and, state, federal agency requirements are constantly changing, especially with COVID. So we have to be able to update this plan. I mean, at some point with the things, the way things are changing, it's almost, could be weekly or even monthly. We have to make sure that all the particular guidelines are still, current. So yes, and if it becomes relabeled COVID-20, then, we can officially relabel it COVID-20, or we can just name it COVID with the understanding that this is the compliance with the Cal OSHA COVID-19 protection plan.
Right, because I have no problem calling the plan the COVID-19 prevention plan, because that is the legal requirement. But as far as the policy, I think we should, just like you said, unless you have other plans under other, I think the policy should be a broader title, because then we don't have to renew the policy every time we renew the plan. We can just update plans and for what we need for the next whatever.
So like instead of the COVID-19 prevention plan, perhaps it's a pandemic prevention plan or something along those lines.
Pandemic prevention policy. You can still call the plan the COVID-19 prevention plan, but you would call the policy the broader
70-50.
70-50, the broader name, and then we wouldn't have to, every time we updated a plan, we wouldn't have to go back and change our policy name.
And I think that's.
Okay, understood. Yeah,
I could see that.
that makes sense.
That makes sense. I'm completely in agreement with that. I thought that the first I read the policy. I go.
And maybe we refer to, the specific, disease or virus, a plan will be developed as needed,
Yes.
specific, because actually even our continuity of operations plan, when the incident command first opened, it's called the pandemic influenza.
Yeah.
But certainly there could actually be other types of things like, measles or polio had been pandemics or epidemics.
So we'll play with the title along those lines. I think that makes a lot of sense. Oh no, we have another freeze. One moment.
Did Laura freeze again?
Yeah.
Oh, and I was trying to, there we go.
Just one sec. We're gonna take another
I'll have her up in a sec. I'm getting faster at it.
couple minutes here.
Hi, Kevin.
Should just be a minute. Come on.
She's just not in the office.
It's just not on.
Set up, I just waiting for her to come in. Very good. Yeah, you just need to turn around. I want to make sure you're okay.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with it. This is crazy.
We can hear you, and
We
there
can
you
see-
are. Now we can see you.
All right.
Wonderful.
Sorry about that. Anyway, so that was just my main comment. Oh, an overarching comment is that we should probably broaden the name of it, of the resolution and policy, but keep the plans, and every time we need a new plan, we can call it whatever we want.
Okay.
How's that point? And then on the resolution, I'm channeling Sid Brown here. I miss seeing her. But on the resolution, the paragraph on the now therefore be it resolved paragraph, it says adopts the following policies. Well, it's only one policy, so I would make that policy, not policies.
Absolutely.
And there should just be, there's a line break that needs to be between the bottom and the second from the bottom, whereas it needs to be spread out. And then
hold on. What's the line break you're referring to?
so the one that says the second to the last, whereas the COVID-19 prevention plan, and then the next one which says whereas a district goal, all of the rest of the whereases have a space between them. This is just, it's very minor, but it's Sid would appreciate it. Those two
Okay.
are bunched together.
I see it. Yep.
Very, very minor. And then in the policy in 7050.2.1, that paragraph says, and the latest version shall be incorporated in the district's policies. And I see that a lot of these 7,000 series policies say that, but what does that mean? I mean, they're not in the policy. So how are they incorporated in the policy if they're not in the policies?
Let's see. Therefore, where are you? Director?
I'm on the policy number 750, paragraph 7050.2.1.
2.1.
It says,
Okay.
and the second to that, and the COVID prevention plan shall be amended from time to time as appropriate. And I would say not call it, if we do, I'm not sure if you're going to do this or not, but if we did it where we made the policy broader, this whole policy all relates, it's got COVID-19 in it like 15 times. So we would just search and replace it with whatever we call the plans that we're going to be developing. But then in 7050.2.1, the second to the last line says, and the latest version shall be incorporated in the district's policies.
Should be incorporated.
I think that actually could be reworded a little better. It's just meaning the program that is coming out of this policy shall be updated, and probably doesn't need to be plural because it really refers to the program as part of the entire IIPP policy and is just part of it. And so it gives the, general manager the ability to keep that updated without having to update this policy, I think, which is the objective, which you mentioned before. So it's incorporated, but I guess it just stands as an adjacent document, not incorporated. Does that make sense?
Well, that's not what it says, though.
Well, so for instance, we don't, in the board policy manual, the 20-page fall protection plan is not sitting in this manual. It's part of the fall protection policy, but it's not sitting in the manual.
Where does it sit?
It sits with safety, the safety and risk.
So are our plans publicly on our website? I mean, can the public say, I wonder what their COVID plan is, and I'm going to go look at it? Can we do that? I didn't see any. Where on our website are our plans?
It will live within the Injury and Illness Prevention Plan, the IIPP, which is on our website. It's just not embedded within that document at the moment.
We're on the website. Maybe you could say, and the latest version shall reside, and then say where it's going to reside. So in the policies it says it's going to reside.
Well, we say that in the 752.2, at all times the COVID plan shall be available in the following locations: the Human Resources Office, Safety, the Maintenance Department, North Operations, and on the district's internal website.
Not on the external website. So if I read this policy, if I was on our website and I read this policy and it said, oh yeah, we've got a pandemic prevention plan. What's that plan? Well, the public doesn't have access to that plan because it's only all of the places that they're located are internal. I mean, they could drive up to Grass Valley and come and look at it, but you
It
know,
can sit on the website. We can change that.
yeah, so just so scratch internal, and then up here in the latest version shall, and so it's not incorporated in the policy because it's not in the policy. Oh, that sentence in the latest version shall whatever. Or you could just delete that from that, and then this will say in the latest version is going to be available on the district's website. I don't know I don't know the best approach to that, but there's.
Your point is that currently it's not available for the public to view, and they should be able to view it.
If it was incorporated in the policy, the public could be able to review it because our policies are on our website, but it's not incorporated. It's
Well,
not
like Janice says, we don't embed the actual.
I understand that.
The policy is we don't embed the actual 20-page whatever document in the policy itself. The IIPP has typically been just an internal employee staff working conditions document that we have available for staff at these locations. If this is something that you'd like to have the COVID plan specific to have the public be able to view it and see what it is, then that's perfectly fine too. We can add that to the district's website.
Well, that's what this says. This says, in the latest version shall be incorporated in the district's policies. Well, the district policies are on the website. And if it was incorporated in the district policies, it would be in the website. That's all I'm saying. And it's not on the website. And so we need to reconcile that. That's
We just differentiated the policy from the plan. We just created, and I think you were correct, that this is a pandemic prevention policy. That's what this is. And it refers to a plan. The plan is the plan, and it refers to, the plan is referenced in the policy. And so I think it's consistent that the policy lives in the website. Currently, the plan itself is not a external facing document, but.
And it should be. It should
Fair
be.
enough.
If the district wants to see what our plan is, they should be able to see it. And so I would just say on 7050.2.1, it says, and shall be on the district's website. If you want to put it in 7052.1 or delete latest version from 2.1 and put it in 2.2, that it's going to be on the district's website. I don't care really, but.
Okay, we'll reference that and make sure that it contains that verbiage that we can, and then we can put it on the district's website.
Okay, and just so you know that there was an alert that just came on my screen that came on just before I went before it died. So I'm afraid my computer's going to die again in a minute. I think they gave me yours, Chris.
I think they did.
So anyway, so do you understand what my concern is on that one? That I just, it's not in the policies, so it's not incorporated in the policy, but it should be on the website.
I do understand that.
And they don't have time, they don't want to come back to the office and they don't have access. So I got access on my smartphone. I can look it up on my phone and I can just go to the website and get it. It's not only for the public, this benefits staff as well to have it publicly on the website. And have it
I certainly, it's on our intranet, which is only available to employees.
And can they get internet on their smartphone?
It's no, I don't think Cal OSHA requires it to be a public document, but it is obviously required to have and available to employees, which is why we reference, where it's will be available or is available at any time. But Greg, I think that at least from the public's concern is in visiting, district facilities, and we've referenced. Is it because they just want? We just want it to be a public document, because we have lots of other plans, fall protection plan, et cetera, that are part of the IPP. Is it every one of them posted or just the COVID posted?
I don't see why not having all of them posted on our safety website.
No, I don't see the need to post them. If the others are not posted, if all the other safety stuff is not posted, then I don't see, I think we're getting into the weeds of nitpicking where it goes.
We need to remove this thing, and the latest version shall be incorporated in the district policies, because it's not incorporated in the district policy.
And it's not intended to be incorporated in the district policy. The policy is the 7050, and it talks about the plan itself. The plan itself lives within these other internal process. Now, I think it lives within the IIPP, which is a staff safety workplace document. Not necessarily a public-facing document. If somebody wants to see it, it certainly could be accessed. But we don't typically publicize our fall protection program and our lockout tagout program and all of these other things that are just going to be a kind of a bunch of documents that are updated from time to time. They're more internal NID specific. So we've never really posted those to the website, and that was the intent of this, that it wasn't going to be specifically posted to the website, the external facing website. It's posted to the internal website, and that staff have an opportunity to see it and review it and have access to it at any time that they would like. And the question, I think Jana's question is, if this plan is going to be on the external website, why would we stop there and then have all lockout, tag out, all our safety, other precautionary plans posted?
That's fine. I understand that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. But this 7050.2.1 says, and the latest version shall be incorporated in the district policies. What does that mean? So explain to me what that means. What does it mean to incorporate the latest version in the district's policies? What does that mean to you?
So this plan, this prevention plan, is referenced in policy number 7050.
I'm speaking specifically of the language in 7050.2.1.
I understand, and it looks like we're sort of adjusting this. When we started this 30 minutes ago, this was a COVID prevention plan. We've changed it to a pandemic or some version, pandemic influenza prevention policy, 7050, and it references a plan. The plan is, and we're probably going to redo 7050.2.1, it sounds like, but incorporated into the district's policies. It just means that the policy lives 7050, it references a plan, and the plan is part of the district's IIPP. That's where it lives.
Oh.
It's not in a policy manual. The policy manual is, it says, the board says that we shall have a COVID-19 prevention plan. And this policy states that we will have that. That's what this says to me.
Okay. All right. So what do you think, Chris? I mean, is that clear to you? Being incorporated means that it's not part of it. It's under it, but it's not part of it.
I think it doesn't matter.
Huh. All right.
That's what I think.
Well, I think it's unclear, but whatever. All right. Okay. On the plan itself, I just have a couple of things. So typically on a plan, the appendixes are referenced in the order of the letter of the appendix. You know, you read the plan, and the first appendix you see is A, then the next one you see is B that's referenced, the next one C is referenced. But we go A, B, F. You know, so I would consider reordering the numbering of the appendices or the lettering of the appendices. So as you document, you're not going from A to B to G to C to D to, you know, the document flows. That's
Where do you see it? It goes.
on page 4 of 26 of the plan, and then on 5 of 26 of the plan. And I like it that you you bold the appendices, but so I've got a couple things. So it's just in the flow of the document as you're reading.
Layout of it.
Yeah, so it goes A, B, because you can see them. I like that. It's bold. You can see Appendix A is this, Appendix B is this, and then you go to page 5, and then you jump to Appendix F. So I would just make, and you don't put the name of what Appendix F is. You know, it's just not consistent. It's just not consistent. He says Appendix B, COVID-19.
Can I interject there?
Yeah.
That was merely to maintain the Cal OSHA requirements on the appendices. And since there was there are a lot of alternate things you can put in there, and one of them was a telework agreement. Since I wanted to maintain the order of the appendices from Cal OSHA's standpoint, I put that in a later time. I understand in the flow of the document, so we can certainly rename the appendices, but it was to maintain their standard appendices. So I just tacked that one at the end.
They say our telework plan must be Appendix F. Is that what you're saying?
They
So we have
don't
to
say
follow
it.
telework plan
It's
Appendix
just, no, they didn't say the telework must be. If you have one, then, I guess you have an option to put it anywhere, but the appendices from, I think, A to probably, E are somewhat standard. So anyways,
Oh,
hence why I just tacked the telework on the end. But because it's mentioned earlier in the document, you're saying that doesn't flow.
okay. But if you call
You
it
want
appendix,
me to rename? I mean, I can insert it. It's just, and then the Cal OSHA standard appendices are not named consistently, which I don't think is a problem. I just kept it the way Cal OSHA recommended to keep it.
well, okay, that's fine then. And so, but I would put Appendix F, telework guidelines, or whatever the name of Appendix F is. All the rest of them, you say, Appendix this, and this is the name of it.
Well, but I mean, the reason why
It does say that on page 5. It says the district's telework guidelines and agreement documented in Appendix F.
Okay, all
Is
right,
that what you were referring to?
yeah. Okay,
and it just references this discussion around or physical distancing.
Oh, I see. You know what? It's not bolded. We have bolded the Appendix F, but we didn't bold the telework guidelines and agreement, so it's not as obviously evident. So I can certainly bold it.
right. And then same on page 10, at the very bottom, Appendix E, it's not bolded and it doesn't say what Appendix E is, and Appendix H is not bolded and it doesn't say what Appendix, it's just standard. I'm just looking for standardization across the document. That's all.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Okay, so perhaps with these changes, it's recommended then, I'm hearing, that we can bring this to the full board once it's finally prepared. Do you want it to come back to this committee?
No. Can you summarize the changes again, please?
Okay. So let's see. I'm just going to go down my chicken scratch. Resolution, we have a space between the second to last and last whereas. We have underneath thou, therefore, be it resolved, we have policies, and change that to policy as a singular. We're going to, underneath the policy itself, 757050, we're going to change the title to reflect a policy and removing the COVID-19 to be more general. We're going to look at this incorporated word here in 750.2.1 and see if we can make that a little more clear for you, Director Peters. There are series of general highlights and bolding that we will look through the policy itself or the plan itself to make sure it's more consistent with general verbiage and ensuring that these appendices kind of stick out so that you don't lose them in the writing itself.
Very good. I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay, great. All right. Then are there any public comments on this? Star 9 to raise your hand. Okay, seeing none. Oh, Would you like this to be brought via consent or open when we bring it forth to the board?
Consent.
That's fine.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. We'll close item number 3, and we'll open the final item of the day, item number 4. So as we move into NID's 100th year, 2021, so congratulations on that. It's a pretty big deal. We're really excited for the year. There's a number of things that we have planned, some of which are going to be, I think, to be determined based on the conversation that we just had and what happens within the pandemic in the next year and how that rolls out. But one of the items that we have been discussing and would like to move forward on is a resolution from our corresponding local jurisdictions, and it's a common request for major milestones of entities, including public entities such as NID, to request a resolution from our surrounding sister agencies as well as our representative local governments, so the counties, the cities, and we would be asking them, providing them this resolution as written. They can certainly amend it as they would see fit, but it's part of one of those ancillary activities and recognitions that NID truly has been here for 100 years. We have been providing water services to Placer, Nevada, and Yuba counties, and we're pretty proud of that. And so this is a recognition to go in front of these different boards of supervisors and different agencies with a resolution and a recognition of this accomplishment of the district today in 2021. So we want the authorization from the APC to really kind of go forth and allow staff to make the contacts with different organizations locally and seek those resolutions. Any questions?
No, I'm excited about this. I've pondered a lot in the past year and plan to say some things at the meeting next week, but I was thinking about the celebration we did. So first question is, we did budget some money for this, if my memory serves me correct, but I haven't researched that, correct?
That is correct.
So and I don't remember the dollar amount. I'm fuzzy about that, but pardon me, go ahead, Laura.
Greg, do you know the dollar amount?
Yeah, it's not that much. We went austere in 2021, but we've got roughly a $75,000 communications budget, and that kind of encompasses a lot of different things. It also is inclusive of a 100-year book that we're publishing.
Right. So that's quite a bit more than I was guessing in my head. Like I said, didn't research this, but I recall that there was some budget money, but my thought was, given our current budget constraints and this being, it's one of those areas, it's important, but it's not important, if I can say it that way. I think it's very important. However, the idea, and just the idea that I'm floating in my own head, is going out in the community and asking for some donations to put on the party, for instance, or something like that. And that's just a thing I'm throwing out there and going, is that something that we want to pursue? Is it appropriate? Pardon me?
You can call it sponsors.
Sponsors, yes, right. Because we have support from, we don't hear it very often. Heard it personally in my campaign, but that's been the last time, from construction companies. Hanson Brothers comes to mind, certainly, and those kind of people to ask for contributions for this purpose. And whether it's appropriate for a public agency to do that, I'm not sure, but that's just an idea.
I appreciate that. That's something we really haven't thought about. It flips the tide a little bit on our normal communication around sponsorships or events or something like that. But I think it's something that we could certainly ponder and think about as we move forward. Many of the activities and things that we have planned are relatively low cost. We have a couple things. One is a potential celebration in August, but that would cost money for sure.
Right.
The book is one thing that we've certainly budgeted for as the main item that we're actually spending money to get. But I think that's a good thought, Director Beerwagen, and we'll put some thought behind that.
I agree, Director Beerwagen. That's an excellent idea because they could provide in kind, whatever. If they want to participate with us in our party, that would be great.
Well, that'll depend on whether we can have a party. I think we should go ahead with plans, make plans, and then the party may have to wait till COVID is over or have a virtual one or something. But making plans and certainly celebrating this milestone is I think it's a big deal, and I have personal connection to it. So
Absolutely, I think it's fantastic. Greg, how much did we budget for the book?
I think about 60,000.
60,000.
Yeah, somewhere around in there. I think that's for everything from layout and design to printing to delivery to shipping and all that stuff. So that's about what it's looking at.
are we proposing to sell them or give them away or what? And how many are we going to print?
Yeah, so we're not proposing to have a production run that's going to be throughout all the bookstores and a sale price of $19.95. What we're presenting to do is really print out enough that the idea here is to present one to every local government official, and we have a long list that we're creating of individuals and organizations that have been instrumental in NID's services and our partnerships and our recognitions throughout the years. And so we're creating that list now of both from the local governments to various individuals, to the governor's office, right, to DWR state offices and stuff like that. So we want to have enough that we're going to present the book, NID's book, to them for free. And then we'll have a number of books for every staff member, every board member, and we may have a handful left over as some that we'll just have laying around if there's really somebody that we missed, and we'll go from there. But we don't anticipate doing a big production run.
So you budgeted for, say, 500 books or something? Is that what you're saying?
About 1,000.
1,000 books. And you would distribute those to Placer County officials as well as Nevada County officials?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Okay.
As well as cities and municipalities. I mean, we've got partners, contractors, state agencies that we work with all the time. I mean, there's a long list of those who have kind of helped shape NID over the years, and so we really want to give something that we can to them to just show our gratitude and appreciation, as well as help them recognize the milestone that we see this as in some small way. Yeah.
I think that's great, and I would offer them opportunity because not everybody likes hard copy books anymore. They have limited bookshelf space and stuff, and so some of these officials maybe don't necessarily. But will it be available on our website that anybody could go and see? Yes,
it'll be online. It's about a 250-page book. It's got over 150 photographs. it covers everything from the very beginning, you know, through. So it's quite comprehensive. It is written, it's fully written, fully edited at the moment, and it's just about ready to go to the printer. So we're on track.
Who wrote it?
Who wrote it? We originally contracted with Dave Carter. Dave Carter was NID's historian and communications individual or marketing for years, many years. He kind of retired from NID. He wasn't especially an employee, but we had him over the years writing, and we had also a number of retirees and a couple staff members working on the draft of the document. We've been working on it for 4 years now. So it's been a long time coming, and it's finally put together. Our existing staff, Susan and everybody is putting this together, and it's been a labor of love over the last 4 years, and it'll be nice to see it come to fruition. We're entering its final stage, and so we're excited for it to be available by this summer.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forward to it.
But it'll certainly be, it'll certainly be online. You know, getting into the book distributing and business, I don't think is something NID needs to be doing. So we'll have enough for those special individuals and long-term dignitaries of the region and of the state that have supported NID over the years, and we will also have a handful of additionals to give away or hand out at fairs if we have a prize or something like that.
I would submit it to the state library.
There you go. That's a good one.
Idea. Yep.
We'll note that for sure. Okay. So do you have any thoughts on the idea of this resolution? And again, this would go to our sister municipalities, so Nevada County, Placer County, Yuba County, we go to Grass Valley, City, Nevada City, City of Lincoln, these municipalities that would create such like this. And we go and present.
Did you have any?
I'm all for it. I didn't know how the process, I see these all forever, but didn't know the process. Now I know the process. So we write it.
Yeah.
And they fill in the blanks.
Yeah, they put it on their resolution letterhead, and they can pick and choose. They can pull some stuff out or put some other stuff in that's specific to them, and that's perfectly fine. It just helps with if we have some introductory language first off.
Yeah. No, I
And it talks about some of the very specific things, you know, that we want to celebrate. You know, it really has a whole handful of things that NID is as an entity, and that's exciting. And that's something that, you know, many people get caught up in the weeds and get caught up in the specifics of things. But overall, we are a very dynamic, long-standing historical organization that is well worth the 100 years that it's been here. So we want to promote that, and we want to strategize around that, and we want to tell the community who we are and why we're here and what we've done. And part of that too is sort of what do we want to do for the next 50 years. But that's where the board is going to be weighing in. So we'll get to that.
So I'm all in favor of this. I'm in favor of agendizing this for the board to have them all weigh in rather than the agenda.
And did you have anything on the actual language of the resolution, Chris? I had a few things on the actual.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
You have some good ideas there, so I don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'm 100% for it. Let's celebrate. This is a truly monumental milestone, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. It's super exciting, and so yay. A few just minor technical things on the resolution. On the third whereas on the first page, it says we now boast 27 reservoirs, but the website says we have 10. And the audited financials say we have 9, so, there's an inconsistency.
What counts as a reservoir and what's a diversion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I don't know, we say we have 9 reservoirs and it says on the website we have 10 reservoirs. And so I just wanted, if they ever looked at it, I mean, where did we get 27?
It incorporates all the little small ones, Rex Reservoir, it incorporates Sugarloaf, it incorporates all sorts of tiny little guys. The 10 are the big, are our 10 storage reservoirs. The other are intermediary, smaller ones, and sometimes they'll, Ore Creek, that sort of stuff.
Even on diversion dams, like Hemp Hill would be called a reservoir?
No.
Okay.
No.
Ore Creek is a diversion dam.
So, fair enough. I'll look into that and make sure, because that number floats around to different ways and different, because we got to define what is the reservoir. So
maybe you could say 10 major and 17 minor or something like that. I don't know, but if they went on the website, they only had 10, and here we're boasting about 20.
Clean up that inconsistency.
Just make it consistent, yeah.
Okay.
And then on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whereas the Nevada Irrigation District delivers 30 billion gallons, it's only 3 billion. It's 3 billion gallons, not 30 billion. We got an order of magnitude wrong.
Okay. We'll look into that.
Yeah. And then on the two down from there, this is just minor, but every year and this is a very formal document. I would say hydroelectric operations. It's not, hydro is a kind of slang, and this is pretty formal. I would recommend changing on the second to the last line. Every year, hydroelectric operations contributes. It's just it's a it's a formal document, and so I don't want to be slang.
Okay.
And then first, whereas on the second page, at Rollins and Scotts Flat lakes, well, those are actually reservoirs. I would call them reservoirs because there are reservoirs. They're not lakes. Lakes are natural. And then on the second to the last, whereas the Nevada Irrigation District now employs more than 200 employees and budget over 80 million and carries more than 60. And then you got 2 little MMs. I think you meant to say million there.
Fair enough.
That's it. Just minor stuff. Just it's just it's good to make it right.
Okay. All right. Look at that.
Yeah. Perfect. I think it's great. I'm 100% for it.
Great. Thanks. I don't anticipate we need to bring this to the board. I think you mentioned that, Director Beerwagen. I think with your blessing as APC, we can move forward with moving this out into the public.
Well, does it go to the board on consent agenda or to?
It goes to other boards. It's not for our board. Language.
No, what we're doing for this, the reason it's on our in our committee. I know the resolution itself. Are we? I was talking about the going forward. So we bless it today, then we send it to the board or consent agenda. That was what I was talking about.
Yeah, I wasn't anticipating that we would need to take this to the NID board.
Okay, I was just.
But if you feel like we should, then I'd be happy to take it on a consent agenda or other.
Uh-oh.
Darn it.
I'm on it.
He froze.
You got
Good
my
point.
own.
It's a very important point here.
One sec.
We'll have him back in just a minute, folks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, there we go.
Rose again, so we're even, Laura. 2 frees each.
Yeah.
You were about to go in. This was a very good point, I believe you were about to make, Chris. So please go ahead.
About going from here today, I was recommending we just have a discussion at the board, let the board know what we're doing.
Okay, we will bring this to the board, and under general, would you like it under general? That way it amplifies its
Yes.
purpose?
Yes, right. So they all
Okay.
have an opportunity to weigh in like we did today.
Fair enough.
I don't think they'll disagree, but I think it's appropriate in this situation.
You got it. We'll do that.
Okay?
Good,
Otherwise, good job.
very good job. I like it.
Okay, wonderful. I think that closes today's meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there public comment? Anyone on the public wishing to say anything on this item? Star 9, raise your hand. Seeing none, we will close the item. It is 10:05. Thank you very much.
11:05.
I'm going to start 11:05. Whew. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you all. See you.